Hello everyone. The story I'm going to share today is The Judge and the Criminal. In ancient China, a man opened a business in Shao Xing City and sold fabric and grain. His brother also had a business but lost everything due to others' deceptive business practices. The brother became very depressed and committed suicide. After he died, his wife became depressed and very sick and died within a year. The couple left behind their young son. The man sadly brought his 6-year-old orphan nephew home. Unfortunately, things didn't go smoothly with the little boy. The man and his wife also had a son. However, his wife was narrow-minded and had always looked down on their poor relatives. When her husband brought his little nephew home, she was not happy, but she could not find an excuse to send him away. In order to stir up trouble, she frequently told her relatives and friends that this boy would bring bad luck to her family, and that he was doomed to be a beggar. She liked to point out their son's fate was to be the country's #1 scholar. She refused to allow the boys to play together. She made a nephew cut grass and chop firewood. At night, she would not allow him to sleep in the house. Instead, he had to stay in the shed. He was never given enough to eat, just a little porridge or pickled cabbage. He didn't know what meat tastes like. The only peace the little nephew had was late at night when everyone was asleep. He would watch the sky from the small window in the shed. He counted the stars and remembered how much his parents loved him as tears ran down his cheeks. The little nephew was very intelligent and responsible, and he didn't want his uncle to be scolded because of him. His aunt liked to bully anyone she felt was weak, and she lusted for money. Ever since the little boy entered her home, he never dared to say a word to defend himself, and he was very careful in doing his chores. In contrast, his cousin, who was a year older than him, was worse than his mother. He was very arrogant and bossy, and no one was good enough in his eyes. All day long, he berated little nephew by calling him little beggar. He would yell, "Keep away from me, and don't bring bad luck to my family." The cousin was spoiled, pampered, and indulged by his mother. He wore silk clothes and ate his fill of meat and fish. Even though he ate well, he had severe asthma and was often sick. But the poor nephew, who ate little but worked hard every day, was in good health. An old man gave lessons at a hall in the village, and he taught about 10 children. These children came from wealthy families, and naturally the bossy cousin studied there. The little nephew was not allowed to enter the building. Instead, he sat on the steps outside and listened. But first, he had to finish all his chores, so he got up very early every morning to cut grass and chop wood. The old man took pity on the nephew and gave him books to read. He later realized that the boy was very smart, and his comprehension was much higher than the other students. When the old man asked uncle and aunt if he could take the boy and raise him, they gladly agreed. Soon the old man prepared to return to his hometown, and he brought the boy with him. More than 10 years passed, and the little boy grew up and became a well-versed scholar. He easily passed the examinations in his town, county, and state. When he went to the capital to take the imperial examination, he was awarded first place and given the title champion. The old man's care and tutoring of this poor orphan boy were not in vain. Thus, the beggar became county's #1 scholar and was awarded the country's highest academic honors. Within a few years, he was appointed a judge in his hometown in Shaoxing. However, his bossy, spoiled cousin, whom his mother bragged would be the country's champion scholar, did nothing. indulged and spoiled by his mother. He did not like to study and didn't learn any skills. He remained arrogant and bossy, and when he grew up, he spent his days drinking, gambling, and playing with girls. He also did not respect his parents. He sold all the fabric in his father's store and pocketed the money. After he sold everything his parents owned, he sold his parents' house and the land and took them to a temple. After he sold everything his family owned, he started to rob people. He was soon arrested and taken to a local police station. When his trial opened, the once poor nephew was the judge. Thus, the scales of justice were in balance. The spoiled, arrogant cousin was a criminal, and a poor beggar boy was his judge. This story tells us that education of children is very important. Adults' words and actions have subtle influences on the child's growth and should not be ignored. At the same time, it also tells us the truth that God's mercy and majesty coexist. If you conform with heaven's law, you will be rewarded. Otherwise, you will be punished. Thank you very much for listening to the story. More touching stories will be ready for you if just subscribe. Thank you again.